In first, U.S. said poised to sanction IDF unit for alleged rights violation in West Bank. That's awesome. This doesn't mean anything, though. This is just another one of those inept, like, reaching to the moderates, you know, bullshit maneuvers from the Biden administration to try to convince their left-leaning constituency that they're not quite as Hitlerite as they seem to be. Like, they're only doing this in the West Bank. Keep in mind, by the way, that over the entirety of the war in Gaza, the West Bank has been subject to constant seizures, raids, murders. Netanyahu has put money forward to fund settlements being placed across it. They're taking the opportunity to purge the entirety of the West Bank in addition to the Gaza Strip, you know. And the Biden administration has been doing this like, well, okay, you know, that's one thing, that's another. We sanction what's going on in the West Bank, but still endorsing what's happening in the Gaza Strip. So, you know, f them. The sanctions would bar the transfer of U.S. weapons to the ultra-Orthodox infantry unit and prevented soldiers from training with U.S. forces or taking part in any activities with U.S. funding. In a way, this is almost more cucked, because imagine how it makes the United States look that they are supplying billions of dollars of weapons to a military that is so radically bad that they feel a need to sanction specific units of it. Like, what a weird relationship that is. Yeah, we're going to give them billions of dollars to continue the massacre in the Gaza Strip, but these other guys are so bad that, like, we're going to sanction them. It's insane. What was the last historical example of America being a cucked ally to another country that was so morally abhorrent they felt the need to sanction people and military units from it? So weird. I think Chile under Pinochet was sanctioned. Yeah, but we didn't support Chile the same way that we support Israel now. Like, don't get me wrong, we got Pinochet in there, yeah, but we weren't giving him billions of dollars. Wait, were we? Hold on. America's committed so many horrid crimes in Latin America that I never want to make statements like that too confidently. Did we give them billions of dollars in weapons? I don't think we did, but maybe. Did we? Operation Condor, we assassinated people. Yeah, but that was covert. I'm talking about open. I'm talking optics here. Open, aggressive support, blocking UN resolutions that they don't want passing, giving them billions in weapons. I can't think of any other example of this, like, relationship between sanctioning and insanely aggressive public, like, you know, glazing. This is that ultra-Orthodox unit. The purpose of this unit is to allow Haredi Jewish men to serve as combat soldiers in the Israeli military by creating an atmosphere conducive to their religious convictions. Over 1,000 soldiers, religious accommodations. The battalion's motto is something I probably can't pronounce, but it means, "And your military camp shall be holy," a phrase taken from the Torah describing the importance of keeping a Jewish military camp free of sin or ritualistically unclean objects. Jewish dietary laws: the only women permitted on these bases are wives of soldiers and officers. Voluntary basis and does not draft soldiers. And naturally, they've spent their entire time dicking around in the West Bank and the Golan Heights. There you go. Yeah. What do you do when you create like an ultra right-wing, ultra orthodox IDF battalion? They spend all their time there, obviously. Just attack them on Saturday. True. They have a backup battalion that steps in and provides guard on Saturday. That's their like rest point. Yeah, the most fasci like to stay behind the lines. The most aggressively fascist military units throughout history have not wanted to participate in the front lines. They've wanted to participate in the occupation, you know? Like, because the thing that fascists get off to isn't dying in combat. It's stepping on the throats of the subhumans that they want to conquer the land of, right? Like, you know, the SS officers in Germany weren't the ones out there in the front line usually. They were in the occupied areas, like supervising the Holocaust, rounding up Jews and homosexuals and what have you. The most aggressive fascists are given the privilege and reward of crushing the inferior, because that is what fascism is about. Fascism is a system that emphasizes hierarchy, and those high on the hierarchy are given the privilege of very evidently demonstrating their privilege over others. Many such cases. You saw the exact same shit happen in Rhodesia, you know? Stuff like that. Apparently the SS itself wasn't great in combat. Well, no, they were ideologues. A lot of the SS were literally just like high-ranking officers the sons of officers. They were people with like connections. They were wealthy. They were people who wanted to dress up in their big leather stomping boots and like hunt for Jews. That was like that. Yeah, they weren't like an elite fighting unit at all. That the SS were not at all like a highly disciplined. This is like another big Nazi myth, you know, like the idea that they were like the elite of the elite. No, they weren't. They absolutely weren't. That'd be like saying the American cops are the elite of the elite. Like, what's the IQ requirement for being a cop? Remembering to breathe? Yeah, like, no, they're just the people given the shiny badge. The Waffen-SS were a comparatively elite fighting force, the Wehrmacht. Yeah, but keep in mind that the Wehrmacht were, like, drafting 14-year-olds towards the end of the war. So, yes, the cops have an IQ limit sometimes. The arrows are not going to get you. You don't know that. And righties gloat that communism has never worked, Lamau. Well, I mean, you know, the Soviets did win the war, so... Yeah, foreign volunteers are almost always the most ideologically radical of any group. But, the Foreign Legion of any army is always Hitler. The French Foreign Legion, Hitlerites, all of them. Foreign legionnaires means, like, these are people who were living otherwise, like, comfortable lives free of conflict in another country, and they wanted to put their lives on the line in order to be part, usually, of a colonial project. In fact, the IDF battalion we just looked at, it literally said in the wiki article that they primarily recruit from foreigners, because the kinds of people who would want to do that sort of thing, like, it would be like a privilege for them to do it from another country, you know? They would be like the biggest ideologues. They're not normal people. They're people willing to go out of their way. Yeah, it's the same deal with Catholic converts, exactly, you know? Like, not every person born in Israel is like a crazy diehard fascist, just half of them. You know, but if you're willing to travel to Israel from America to serve in its military, you're probably some kind of lunatic. What about the Ukrainian Foreign Legion? The Ukrainian Foreign Legion, as I understand it, does have like a pretty broad swath of like... The main problem with the Ukrainian Foreign Legion being naturally Hitlerite is the fact that they're fighting against Russia, which is a like Hitlerite country, right? That being said, the Ukrainian Foreign Legion and in fact the Ukrainian military have had well, they don't have no Nazis, you know? There aren't zero Nazis in those institutions. Ironically, it was the French SS Legion that defended the Reichstag to the last. I don't think that's ironic at all. Because think about it. Who would be the most insane, psychotic members of the SS? That's right, French racists who signed up in under French occupation. Those would be it, right? Like, think about France in the 1940s. Incredibly racist. They have their boots on the neck of, like, 50 African countries, you know? Like, think of, there are plenty of Frenchmen at the time. It would have been like, oh, yeah, the Nazis, you know, whatever. As long as I get to keep being a white supremacist. They would have been some of the most ideological converts. And the most vicious Nazis were the Croatians. As always, you know, white people are white people, unlike the French and Croatians, are the least effective white supremacists. Just like over here in America, the most effective white supremacists are Mexican. Many such cases. Sheesh. Having escaped out of Berlin, Finet with a small remainder of his unit surrendered to British forces at Bad Kleinen and Wismar. Some of the Frenchmen, such as Finet, were turned over to the Soviet army. 12 of those turned over to French authorities by the U.S. Army were summarily executed by orders of General Philippe Leclerc de Roqueluc. I know that wasn't even close, but I'm sticking to it. Also, look at this. This is kind of a rarity. Finet was allowed to be treated for his foot wound at a hospital. He was then returned to a Soviet POW camp for a short time later released. Most of the rest who made it to France were apprehended and sent to Allied prisons and camps. Finet was arrested upon his return to France. In 1949, he was convicted of being a collaborator and sentenced to 20 years of forced labor, but released from prison in 1959. Soviet POW camp is not a nice place to be. Yeah, if he was kept in the POW camp, he probably would have died there. Deserved? Oh yeah, for sure deserved. Vosh, you put too much saliva in your French. I've been told I do that a lot. Yeah, use more nasal. Thank you, random Quebecois guy. I appreciate that. So many Nazi war criminals got sent to prison for like 20 to 30 years, then let the go after 5. Yeah, the Soviets definitely treated the Nazi prisoners the worst when given the chance, which is probably a pretty big dub, you know. Then they did that whole ethnic displacement of Germanic people back to the borders of Germany, which was, you know, a big dab. To this day, the remains of a Belgian collaborator aren't allowed to return to Belgium by law, this piece of shit. That's so based. I think there should be more, like, insane laws like that that don't mean or do anything, but are just purely about symbolism. I ain't reading all that. Yeah, banished even in death. Most of the Germans were there for centuries. Yeah, the Soviet relocation of Germanic people back to the borders of Germany was probably definitely not good. My sympathies are lessened, you know, somewhat, mostly on account of the whole World War II just ended thing, but it was mostly just like a virtue signal. It was politically popular in a lot of these countries to get rid of Germanic people, considering what Germany had just done. So, yeah. I know, King Jar Jar. Were they harmed? Oh, yeah, they were. Wasn't it an ethnic cleansing? Yeah, but it just okay. Look, just to be clear, I don't fully support what the Soviets did there, but please do keep in mind a lot of the Germanic populations outside of Germany, even though they'd been there for a while, were very pro-Germany when World War II happened. Active collaborators, they were benefiting from the occupation of the German army in those countries, you know. They were like, woo, here's our time, you know. Not all of them. I don't think that means group punishment is acceptable. I think it's bad. I think it's ethnic cleansing. All I'm saying was that a lot of the people who got ethnically cleansed were probably Nazis. Okay, that's it. All right, that's all. Not saying it's good. You get me. All right, too much history for one day, Comrade Robin Hood. The Soviets literally continued the use of the concentration camps. What? I don't know what that has to do with what I said. I'm not exactly pro-Soviet. Would you recommend using a dead rapper voice in a diss? If not, with the artistic I have no idea what you're talking about, Korsnor. I have no idea at all. Oh, sure, Kowalski from Nebraska. The ethnic Germans that were out that far around Stalingrad. Yeah, I was talking about the ones that were near Germany. Yeah, but there were plenty of Nazis in actual Germany too, which didn't end up being a problem requiring the relocation of millions of them. Intelligent Donkey, we didn't just relocate millions of people in Germany, we firebombed them. No, this is a historical debate over which I have no interest. We might as well start debating the firebombing of Dresden, okay? Do you want to know the truth? We dabbed in the Nazis, and that's what matters. There are no lessons to be learned here. The relocations of the Germans after World War II wasn't some, like, depraved act of like colonialism or barbarism against a minority population. It was a politically popular act against a population that was more so than any other population ever before. Pretty Hitlerite, you know? But the Soviets did lots of stuff that I disagree with. It's not like the Germans were the only ethnic group that got moved around a bunch by the Soviets, you know? I have no opinion on it, Korsnor. Do you think war can ever not include innocent civilian casualties? I have no idea how you would conduct a proper war without it. You guys are still doing it. Oh my God. Some of you in chat, you guys are literally doing the thing right now. Did you know that there were innocent Germans? Yeah, I know. Thank you. Do you understand how you sound? What point are you trying to make? Go into any comment section on any social media site and start talking about innocent Germans killed in the firebombing of Dresden. Who do you think's going to rush to your side? Like, think about it for a second. Yes, like I've already said 20 times, it was bad. It was ethnic cleansing. What do you want from me? You want to, like, just be contrarian, like, argue the point further? Like, well, you say it was bad, but, like, it was bad. Thank you for your insight. Just think for a second, okay? Innocent people die in every single war ever. And also, I'm not pro-Soviet.